Hi, everyone. So we're here today for a very quick um, class session, and I do mean quick for once. I've been kind of sick, so what hasn't helped is I've spent the last 12 hours working on an assignment for a class, making sure that's all finished up. And yeah, so today we're just going to be talking about an introduction into formal writing. It's just something super quick, nothing to really worry about. I just have a few tips that you should know moving forward, and not anything that I'm expecting for you to do in this class exactly, but things that you may need to know going into a different course. Before we do that, so our deadlines, um, we have the polished draft and reflection due today by midnight, unless you want to take advantage of the buffer period. Um, The reflection is worth a letter grade. If you don't do your reflection, then I'll have to take off a whole letter grade. So be sure you get me your reflection. If there's not one, I will request it and I will not grade it until then. If you don't do it, then I'll just take a grade off because they have to be done. It's part of your portfolio. It's part of the course. They're important. Anyway, so the 27th and 29th, we have the presentations of the multimodal versions of our projects. And then I have found some clarity with this next bit. The final portfolio will be due by the end of our final session on the 6th by 2:30 p.m. So your final portfolio has to be submitted before that time. And then I'll go over and I'll grade it and then submit your final grades. The 4th was originally time that I was going to give you in class to work on your final reflection. So we'll see what we're going to be doing with that because next week is devoted to our presentations. But we'll see what works. I may just give you an out-of-class writing day if that works for you, but we'll see. Anyway, so moving on, just really quick. So things to know about formal writing. As we discussed with code switching and code meshing, formal and informal writings are two different types of code. Most classes expect essays to be coded in formal writing. This semester, it's just been mostly informal writings, but you have been doing well with code meshing because I can definitely see your unique experiences in your writing. But yeah, so as we were just focusing on strengthening your writing skills in general, formal guidelines were not covered too often, if at all, but they were not strictly enforced. So as a list, there are a few rules that you need to be aware of. So use the active voice in MLA. Passive is the door was opened by James. The action occurs before the reader knows who committed the action. This is seen a lot in APA where studies were conducted is normal speech. So in that type of writing style, it's kind of expected, and it's not, and if there's not anything against it unless it muddles your message. So if you're writing in psychology or even any of the other science fields, then that's what you'll be adhering to as well. So don't worry about it too much there. But the example of the active voice is James opened the door, and the person who did the action is clearly stated before the action is done. Never use contractions. Things like your, it's, or don't are unacceptable. These have to be spread out. You are, it is, do not, and that's only with formal writing. So like everybody's been using contraction, which is fine. But moving forward in other classes, you don't want to do that. Your professors will count off for it. Never use I. Personal pronouns are typically unacceptable in formal writing. There are some instances where it's okay in a thesis. Other than that, it should not exist in the rest of your essay. Once again, I did not care about this. I just want to make sure you are more comfortable with actually writing instead of being too scared to write anything. Avoid repetitive wording. I have focused on this with a few of you, but make sure you vary up your word usage. Repetitious wording is taxing for your reader and makes it seem as though you have a limited vocabulary. But also be aware of using a thesaurus or other synonyms for your writing, because you could use something that doesn't exactly suit the situation, or you can be using an outdated term like pulchritutinous, which means like homely and beautiful. And it's not ways that people speak. But do not use second person. This is also something I was trying to hammer into your heads. Never address your reader. You would think that this is okay. It is not okay. It's not something that you see in most writings. Second person narration is almost non-existent even in literature. There are a few instances where I can think of some choose your own adventure stories or some writings from Stephen King where he has some second person narration for some reason in a few instances of his stories, but don't do it. Be as concise as possible. Remove all superfluous details in order to do something. Could just be to do something, and so on. Third person writing only, if I haven't gotten this through. As should be obvious at this point, a forum paper has the writer as an entity rather than a person. Because of this, the writing that he or she creates is separate and standalone. And the side note for that, um, when you are addressing people, although it's try to avoid the awkwardness of he or she or she or he and she and he. Um, Try to operate your sentence structure around the idea that you can't use that too often, but don't use they because that is a different pronoun in certain circumstances. So never just use he. That's outdated and belongs in the past. You will be chastised for using strictly he unless your professor is super fucking old. Try to remove as much of yourself as possible. Code mesh where you can so that your writing stands out, but not too much. Think to yourself, do I sound like an old dead white dude? If not, then your paper may not be formal enough. Some professors do like variety, so be aware of your audience. And that's just the important thing that you need to know moving forward. It'll be outlined for you by your course instructions, what type of writing style is expected. If you have to, then ask your professor if you can use personal pronouns. They'll probably say no. There are some narrative essays moving forward into Comp 2 where it'll be okay, but then the rest of those you'll just have strictly formal writings. So while I haven't exactly prepared you for that, I hope you feel that I've helped straighten your normal writing enough so that you do actually get the help that you deserve. But other than that, that's all I had. That's all I wanted to cover. I'm surprised I haven't had a coughing fit yet. Although I do feel like I'm dying. But once again, deadlines tonight by midnight, polish draft, and reflection. Next week, Monday and Wednesday, we'll have presentations of our projects. Like I said, if you need to send me a draft of that so I can look at it and give you some feedback, let me know. And then on the 6th, the final portfolio is due by 2:30 p.m. On the 4th, the day before Dead Day, we'll probably do an out-of-class writing day, unless you feel that you need to see me for some reason, or I think of something that needs to be done with class. Moving forward, Friday, we were going over the reflective writing and the revision process by Sandra Giles. This is in Pack Prints. We'll post a reminder on Blackboard when I post the link to this video. But other than that, I've got nothing. I'm going to go die now. You have a wonderful day.